Welcome to a very special edition of Talk Dragon Ball. Yes, an all-star Talk Dragon Ball, as me and a few people are going to go and recap the Resurrection F arc, the Revival of F arc, and compare it scene by scene to the Resurrection F movie. We did this for Battle of Gods, and I'll leave a link in the description below to that Talk Dragon Ball where we compared the film to the movie. We're going to do it again for Resurrection F. But luckily, though, as far as we know, there's no more movies. So from now on, all the super material is going to be new, and we don't compare it, with the movies. So anyways, I am, of course, Geekdom. And first, let me introduce my regular Talk Dragon Ball co-host, Super Jayain from Space Brisbane.
How's it going, guys? Super Jayain. Happy to be here, as always.
And also joining us, a man whose name is very close to Super Jayain in the real world, but this is not the real world. This is the world of YouTube. The realest motherfucker in the Dragon Ball community, Hail Zeon.
Hey, guys. Geekdom, thank you for having me.
Yes, I'm very happy. I told you that I was going to do this, and you were like, let me get in on that.
Yeah, let's say, I was just if you're gonna talk about Resurrection F, I want to bitch about Resurrection F or the Resurrection F arc.
Well, what's interesting is that you liked the movie more than a lot of people did, but you hated the arc more than a lot of people did.
I did. This is true. These are two very true facts, and honestly, it has a lot to do with the fact that one is a movie and one is an arc.
Yes.
It is. Because it was like the movie was this bite-sized, digestible, fun little thing on the side, and then this was this thing I was supposed to take seriously as a storyline within the series, and I'm like, nope.
It's almost like a girl, like when you go out and you get a girl, and she's not really that attractive, but she's fuckable. So you fuck her, and then the next day you realize that, oh shit, she's still laying next to me. How do I get her out of here? So you lie and tell her you have classes in the morning, even though you don't. I've been in that position before.
Hate that shit.
Right? Versus versus a really pretty girl who you have sex with her and you want her to stay and cook you breakfast, but then she gets mad at you when she finds out you didn't bathe for a couple of days after giving you a blowjob.
Jesus,
I'm
man.
not saying, I'm sure somebody out there, leave a comment down below if you've been through that one. All right.
No, I can't relate to that one. Jesus.
All right. We're fucking around here. But also joining us, man who needs no introduction. I was going to introduce him as Qaaman's Land or Quinn, but today he's QAA12. We're talking
going back to the glory days.
Yeah. Alrighty, guys, it is QAA12 here today, and for the rest of this video, Geekdom will not want me to speak in this voice, so I'll just switch to speaking normally.
So what we're going to do, thank you, what we're going to do is we're going to basically recap the arc, and of course, I'm positive that you guys are going to do videos on this on your channels, so please subscribe. I know for a fact that Zeon's working on a highly edited video for both the Battle of Gods and Resurrection F films, correct?
Yes, this is true.
That should be up in the. It was gonna be a while because you're gonna actually put a lot of editing into it.
Yeah. I'm actually like laying out the format for the script. Not even scripting it. I am laying out the format in which I am going to order the events of how the video is breaking down things. It's gonna be a bitch, bro.
Yeah, that's scary.
It's gonna be I'm worried it's gonna be an hour.
Well, that's okay, because, good luck with that. Dude, Comics Explained put out an hour-long History of Superman video, so hey, fuck it. So what we're going to do is we're going to recap the Resurrection F arc, like I said, scene by scene. But before we get to the actual arc, I want to talk about this may be part of the arc. This may not be. It depends on how you want to organize the sagas in Dragon Ball Super. I want to talk about Dragon Ball Super episodes 15, 16, 17, and 18, which are basically epilogues to Battle of Gods, prologues to Resurrection F. They are the filler, and I don't even know if you can even call it filler in this case, but I guess it is filler. The filler, story in between Battle of Gods and the revival of Frieza. Jay, I'm going to start with you, man, and we'll go round robin here. Did you like these 4 episodes? You don't have to recap every episode because it would take too long, but just the 4 episodes together, the story that was told with Pan being born, Vegeta going to train with Whis, Goku going to train with Whis, all that stuff. Did you like these 4 episodes, and do you feel that this material should have been added to the Resurrection F movie?
I do. I definitely do. I think it added to the story and the depth of the characters, and I definitely think some of the best parts of Dragon Ball Super have been the stuff that doesn't take place during the events of the movie. As everyone likes to call them, the slice of life moments. Gohan, Videl, and Pan is always enjoyable to see on screen. Vegeta preparing food for Whis so he would accept him as his pupil. Pardon me, that was fantastic. The whole instant ramen gag, classic Toriyama humor. I love that. And the episode with Mr. Satan fighting Lord Beerus was one of the more entertaining episodes in the saga for me, in general, just as in Dragon Ball as a total so far. For Super, I'm referring to, sorry. But I don't know whether to place it as part of Resurrection of F or as, like you said, like a prologue to it. I would have to say it's not really. It is character building for the Resurrection of F arc, even though there's not really a lot of character building that happens in the actual Resurrection of F arc itself. I feel that it was fun. I enjoyed it. You could have skipped over some of it, but I feel like Vegeta and Goku's training with Whis was important to the story.
I also really enjoyed the fact that we actually saw Bulma give Vegeta the armor. I really like that as well.
Yeah.
Quinn, your thoughts on the in-between stuff?
Yes, I mean, really what episode really caught my attention was the one where people were speculating about Goku cheating on Chi-Chi, even though we all knew that wasn't going to happen, where like there was an episode where Goku really wanted to go train with Whis and Bulma got him a cell phone. I'd like those slice of life episodes that like add something new to the series. And basically what I didn't like about the arc changes is basically the fact that there were some episodes, episode 24, 1, 2, 3, 4, 24, 5, and 6, where basically they're just stretching out what happened in Resurrection F. Something that took 2 or 3 minutes is now taking 20 minutes. And that's really the only things I didn't really like about the arc. I just felt it was like, all right, well, if you're going to basically drag out a fight, at least make it look good. You know, it's kind of going back to the whole Namek
you're
thing.
Skipping things,
Yeah, you're jumping ahead, bro. We're doing.
Well, I'm just saying in general, like those are the general thoughts. I mean, specifically in terms of like little minute changes, those slice of life episodes, especially like, you know, the whole thing with Pan and like, you know, Chi-Chi and Bulma talking about like, you know, her thoughts on that. I felt that was really interesting.
All right, yeah, that's fine. We'll get to all that shit here. Zeon, you like the movie because, like you said, the story. Do you feel that if some of these scenes were put in the movie, do you think it would have helped the movie out? Do you think? Like, what do you think?
Okay, like I think certain things needed to be there. Like, you know, like I do think like at least a throwaway line explaining like how Vegeta and Goku ended up training with Whis was kind of important because it was kind of weird that like, you know, the last time we had seen them, they had no connection with Beerus and Whis before they went off to go train, or before they had left. It's like, okay, like how did they set up this arrangement to where they get the train? So I always thought that was a little like weird. So like I thought it was really important that, you know, not only did they give us they gave us better than a throwaway line, they actually gave us, you know, like showed us exactly like all the steps. Vegeta was first, trained for 6 months or so. Goku jumps in, you know. Then like, you know, we see them building up the whole SSG SS thing. We still don't have a fucking explanation for that. And I actually forgot.
I was gonna ask you that.
I forgot to bitch about that in my damn review. That's okay. I'll save it for like the beginning of the Universe 6 review. Anyhow, but yeah, like, you know, they were at least giving us more important, like, you know, little things that I felt were rather important. I feel like some of that should have been given some lip service, you know, like how they got there, you know, explain the SSGSS thing in the movie. And this, you know, was building that up. So that was nice. As far as like the Mr. Satan versus Lord Beerus thing, I don't honestly consider that part of the Resurrection F arc. I consider that more the BOG arc because because you know that really was an epilogue to that. Regardless, though, I would say that's possibly like one of the funniest episodes of Dragon Ball anything since the driver's license episode. Like I laughed my ass off during that one.
So, what, in your opinion, was there anything that you felt was missing from these 4 episodes that you would have liked to have seen in them to make the Resurrection F story better? Because the only thing I can think of is showing Vegeta's singular training with Whis, but I kind of feel like them not showing it was kind of cool because if you're watching this and you had not seen Resurrection F the movie for whatever reason, when Vegeta does unlock SSGSS, it kind of harkens all the way back to this. and him figuring it out on his own. But
Yeah.
what else do you think they could have put into the arc to make the movie better?
Okay, something I think that the arc was kind of missing with the whole showing their training is, by the time Goku gets there, Vegeta states that that he can sense Whis coming, and that's like, oh, and the Oracle Fish says like, oh, well, you can already sense God Ki. So it really
It was already a god.
yeah, like it's really kind of confusing because we know that Goku and Vegeta technically aren't using God Ki in their base forms because when they show up to the fight, there's that whole line of when Goku goes SSGSS, it goes, oh, I can't sense Goku's Ki anymore, which is the whole signifier of now he is actively using God Ki. Where before it's like, was the God Ki dormant within Vegeta? How was it dormant? Like, what about this training allowed him to sense God Ki and apparently find dormant God Ki within his own body?
We haven't seen that yet. All I can hope is that we might see it soon, but I have my doubts. I think it's just going to be like Wish just showed him how.
Yeah, I think it's going to be like the fucking Super Saiyan 3 thing. It's like, how'd you do that?
We just
off screen.
Yep. Yeah. And I hate that form. Now, the end of episode 18 ended with our first look at Sorbet, Tagoma, Shisami in the anime, as well as Champa and Vados, which I know I was excited for that. I like the fact they're incorporating Champa and Vados so early, and there was actually a teaser for it earlier in the Battle of Gods arc when the Kais are like talking about, well, I'm sensing something else. I like that they were building this character up from way back. Did you feel, and this is for anybody who wants to jump in on this one, do you feel that the introduction of Sorbet, Tagoma, and Shizami was a little bit too rushed? Because I really wanted them to put in that whole thing with the Galactic Patrol, or maybe like having Champa and Vados blow a planet up like in the manga and have them say, oh my god, we lost somebody. Like, what do you think?
I felt one part of the arc that was very rushed was the entire scenario of
let's go to Earth.
Basically, Sorbet, Tagoma, Shisami showing up, reviving Frieza, putting him back together. Frieza swears he's revenge.
Well, that's next.
That whole part was very rushed. But prior to that, the introduction of the characters themselves, I feel like they didn't have to really flesh them out or introduce them too much right then and there because they could elaborate on that when Frieza's revived. But I didn't feel it was rushed until Frieza gets revived. That's when I feel it starts to get rushed.
Okay, let's get to that right now, and I'm going to go around for this one as well. Okay, the beginning of the movie / the beginning of the actual, quote, arc, very similar. Sorbet, Tagoma, Shizami go to Earth. We see a little bit more stuff in the TV version. Frieza's in hell. One of the problems with Super, and Zeon's talked about this extensively on his reviews, is that Super has problems fitting in with the storyline because it doesn't know where it's supposed to go. Basically, what I mean is this. In the anime, we see Frieza in hell. In the Kai version, we still see Frieza in hell, which was a huge mistake. They did not go by the manga. In the manga, we never see hell. When Resurrection F came out, see, a lot of people don't know this who don't really understand, but Resurrection F was Toriyama's story. And the idea, I don't want to go into canon, okay? I hate that argument, but if you are considering the manga, quote, canon, Toriyama's vision, the way it's supposed to go is the manga, Battle of Gods, and Resurrection F, even though Yusuke Watanabe wrote Battle of Gods initially. But the bottom line is this. We had never seen hell in the manga at all, and we do see it here, which was Toriyama's representation of hell. But it contradicts the hell that we saw in the series, but earlier in Super, we see throwbacks to the series, including the fact that Kai kept hell. It's just I kind of wish they would have had some kind of explanation, like maybe like Lord Enma or King Yema like punishes Frieza, or maybe they should have made him, instead of being, Cyber Frieza, they should have made him, regular Frieza. But
because I've actually had people say like, because like when I brought that up, it's like, it's the wrong hell. So like, where does this continuity fit in?
Yes.
It can't fit into the manga continuity because it's referencing filler characters and filler events.
Yep.
But it can't fit into the anime's continuity because hell is completely wrong, and Frieza doesn't look. And people are trying to say like, well, maybe it's just a different part of hell that we never got to solve. Like,
that's
thing is, though,
my
like,
headcanon. Right?
Well, the thing is though, like, there's that, but then you had the fact that Frieza is in a cocoon. He implies that he's been there, like, this entire time, and that like, that he's just been there, like, that he wasn't just up and out and about, like moving freely in hell. like he is in the anime, like
Well,
in DBZ.
My headcanon was that Yema punished him, but then how do you explain the
Him being a
mechanical
cyborg.
parts? Yeah.
I was just gonna
the cyborg thing.
I was just gonna say, yeah, I noticed, not to get too far ahead into this video, but when Frieza was back in Hell at the end of this arc, he was in his organic form again. His natural
That's what he
state.
died as.
Yeah, because he died exactly.
Yeah, I guess.
Now,
I guess that's true.
I want to get you guys' thoughts on not just that, but also the revival scene with Sorbet, Tagoma. They brought the Pilaf gang back, which it actually fit better in the movie than it did in this arc. And then Frieza comes back to life, basically episode 19. Quinn, how do you compare the two?
Well, not to sound too much like Hail Zeon, but the whole scene with the Pilaf gang, in my opinion, I felt it was nice that they kind of tried to make a parallel between it, but honestly, I was actually hoping that they did not include the Pilaf gang this time, and they kind of were like looking to go in a different direction, similar to the way they were changing the Resurrection F arc. But one thing I do like is how it seemed to me like Sorbet and Tagoma were kind of changing the way that they viewed, the whole Emperor Pilaf gang, because in my opinion, just take it as my interpretation, it seemed like they were kind of more aggressive towards them in Resurrection F as opposed to Super, where they kind of just let them be in their own way. And the reason why I'm saying this is if you look at Resurrection F, like the Pilaf gang seemed to be more afraid of them as opposed to, implying force and running away. So that's one little thing I think they added for humor, but I'm not that much of a fan.
All right. Zeon, you've given some of your thoughts earlier. Do you have anything to add? One of the things before you go that I want to talk about is they covered up a plot hole with the wishes. And for those who don't know, and again, this is a plot hole that's been going on since Dragon Ball Z or Dragon Ball the manga, about how Toriyama keeps changing his mind about how many wishes Dende's dragon can grant. Sometimes 2, sometimes 3. It just goes back and forth. Do you have anything to add about what you've just said, about the revival of Frieza, just that portion of the story, movie
revival,
versus
unlike Quinn, I'm totally fine with the Pilaf gang being there. It gave them an excuse to quickly find the Dragon Balls and and expedite that whole process for them, which obviously they're trying to keep things on the DL. And honestly, I think they fit much better into this arc than they were in the last one, where they were just kind of extraneous bullshit. They had no place in that story whatsoever. They were just plain fucking filler. Here, they actually had a purpose.
Yes.
So that, I was totally fine with them being there. I found it interesting that you brought up the wishes and the plot hole thing, because I was thinking about it recently. I'm like, oh shit, I think the 3 wishes might actually be a plot hole, because this has been less than a year, so Shenlong should only have 2 wishes left from Battle of Gods, shouldn't he?
Yes, because it makes no sense. But
remember, so actually the movie got it fucking right.
Wait a minute, no, Battle of Gods wasn't really a wish though. That was just a question.
The thing is, he says your wish is granted by. Poof.
I thought that didn't count as an actual wish. I
don't know.
Sworn that didn't count.
Because does ask, because that's saying it's a question, so.
We need to find out.
I guess it goes either way. So I guess you could use the excuse in the movie. It's like, well, it counted as a wish in the movie, and it doesn't count as a wish in the series. But I was thinking about it. I'm like, wait, it's been less than a year. Yeah, Shenlong should only have 2 wishes left.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's Jay.
But yeah.
I'm sorry.
I was gonna throw out one more thing. One thing that did piss me off about the Pilaf gang is they throw out that fucking line of them not knowing that Shenlong can grant 3 wishes. And it's like, how the fuck are you kids? Did you use the Dragon Balls to turn into kids?
27 fucking episodes, and they have not explained in Super how they became kids.
Yeah, they haven't fucking explained it, and it seems like they're completely ignorant of how the fucking Dragon Balls work now. In the goddamn last arc, they see the dragon being summoned, and then they fucking row their goddamn boat back to Bulma's cruise liner, and they're like, oh, the Dragon Balls aren't here anymore. What happened? It's like, they shoot across the earth. You know this. This was fucking established in the original Yeah.
You were there for the first wish.
Yeah, you were there for the first fucking wish of the series. God damn it. How do you not know how these work? And the fact that, they don't know that, and then you get to this arc and they fucking just compound the issue with, oh, the dragon could grant 3 wishes? I'm like, how do you not know that either? You should have grabbed the Dragon Balls in the last couple of years and turned to fucking kids. fuck you. That is just such an obnoxious fucking oversight. Like, how the hell do you fuck that up?
Jay,
So,
do you have
like,
any? Oh, I thought you were. Finish off, bro. I'm gonna.
No, that was it. I was just like, just to get that one out of my system. That pissed me off really
classic
bad.
Zeon rant right there. I love it.
Jay, do you have anything to add to that at all?
Not really. I mean, I enjoyed having Emperor Pilaf there on screen. I think that it's a good throwback to Dragon Ball. They're not really there to serve any real purpose, which is disappointing. But and the plot holes that we pointed out and their problems in the story are bad. But I did enjoy their time on screen. However,
let me ask you a question: is this the end of the Pilaf gang as far as Super goes? Like, I know they're in I know they're in the Universe 6 as spectators, but I feel like their character arc is over. They got rich. Like, what more do they want? You know?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like they were wasted a little bit. If you're going to bring them back for a purposeful reason. Yeah, it was good to see them on screen.
Take Trunks' virginity.
But
not now, later.
Well, he's like 13. It's okay, whatever.
I mean, my favorite scene containing the gang since 2013 was probably in Battle of Gods when they had the whole gag where they took Trunks hostage with a gun, and all that stuff was probably the most enjoyable Pilaf gang situation I've seen in Super and the movies in general. In Dragon Ball Super though, I feel they haven't served any purpose, but it has been enjoyable to see them on screen at times.
Okay, the next scene, the arrival of Jaco. Did you guys? I'm gonna start with Zeon on this one, then go to Quinn and Jay. Did you guys feel that you wanted to see more of the Galactic Patrol? I wanted to see more of the Galactic Patrol. And how do you compare Zeon? How do you compare Jaco's arrival in the anime where he interacted with Goten and Trunks versus his arrival in the movie where he interacted with Dr. Briefs? Zeon, what do you think? Do you have any opinion on that?
I definitely wish that we could have seen some of the Galactic Patrol stuff. I really wish that we could have seen maybe a correspondent picking up information, because it's like, how did they know that one, Frieza was back, and two, that Frieza was on his way and that he was like an hour away? It's like, really? So that I really wish we could have gotten some kind of explanation on. Now I do like seeing him interact with Goten and Trunks. I thought that was a nice change up because I enjoy kind of the Dr. Briefs element because he had a history of Dr. Briefs, but just seeing Goten and Trunks is kind of freak out, oh my god, it's this guy from space, even though they've seen aliens before, but whatever, they look at the spaceship and you be I like seeing them be kids, because we don't get to see that too often. They're usually trying to be like all the grown-ups and save the day and all that shit. And it's good to see them just get overly excited about things that are not worth being that excited about because that's what kids do. So I definitely enjoyed that. I love the interaction between them, and I actually did prefer that over their interaction with Dr. Briefs.
Okay, and one more thing I want to add too with this conversation before I go to Quinn is that or Qaaman. I'll call you Qaaman, bro.
No, just go with Quinn, bro. It's no point anymore.
You already broke the illusion, man. He's Quinn forever.
He's good. So one thing that pissed me off about episode 20, and I talked about this in my review way back, is that episode 20 had literally 2 time skips within the same episode. The pacing in this saga was such horseshit. And it's like some of the stuff that I wanted to see that I didn't see in the movie could have been done. Not just the Galactic Patrol, but also in this episode 20, right? Jaco arrives, no Galactic Patrol, nothing. He's just there, tells him about Frieza. All of a sudden, Krillin gets his hair cut. Everybody gets together. And the episode ends with the Z Fighters, or what in this version of the Z Fighters, showing up and Frieza landing. They literally skipped 4 months. We didn't see the training. I'm going to get to that next about the lack of training here. But I just thought I don't know what they were thinking with this episode. Way too jarring, way too fast. Quinn, compare Jaco's arrival in the film to the movie as well as the time skips. Did you think they should have at least fucking told us, okay, 6 months later or 4 months later or whatever? I felt like it was hard to keep up.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I'll just say that, Daddy, that I was actually confused when I first watched it because I'm like, wait, so what happened with the time skip? They're not saying anything about it. That it kind of threw me off because is this instantly happening? Because it
felt that way.
Yeah, it felt like Frieza just came and it was like, whoa, well, that was weird. That was the one problem I had. But in terms of Jaco, I'm pretty much with Zeon. One thing I'll add though is I kind of liked Jaco's return in Super, because I think that having Goten and Trunks as characters is like it's creating more of an atmosphere for, you know, what would eventually be their minor involvement in Super, and I'm sure Zeon has things to say about that. But the reason I really like the whole Jaco scene with Goten and Trunks is because it excited me as a fan, because, you know, we know Goten and Trunks were not in the movie, and that actually really pissed me off. So it was like, oh crap, Goten and Trunks might actually be in this fight, which they kind of were. So that's the main reason why I like the whole Jaco return.
Okay. And Jay, do you have anything to add about that?
Yeah, I feel, like I said earlier, I feel this is where the arc started to become really, really rushed. They could have elaborated on Jaco a little bit more. I really, really didn't like how quickly everyone just showed up at the battlefield in this episode, and the fact that there was 2 time skips in one episode is a perfect example of how rushed this arc was. And it really doesn't do the story justice or the characters justice when you're trying to adapt a movie into a TV series. Even though this story was completely irrelevant and inconsequential, you're still adapting a movie into a TV series, and it felt like they were just adapting a movie into another version of a movie. That's how it felt. It felt like you were watching the movie basically in that particular episode, and that was a massive mistake. And that really, for me, is where the Resurrection of F arc started going south. I just really says that really badly. Resurrection of F arc started going south.
Well, Zeon said the same thing. It's like, as a movie, it works. It's a short, condensed story. If you're going to make it into an arc, add more shit to actually flesh out the characters. Because I feel like, dude, why the fuck didn't they show, like, Jaco and, like, because, dude, if you're, oh my god, dude, they have Jaco coming in. Why the fuck don't you show, like, the story of Jaco condensed into, like, 15 minutes? Like, have him tell Bulma, okay, well, I met your sister, so that the audience kind of knows who he is, because not everybody read the fucking manga.
Yeah, look, that's one thing that really irks me, is the fact that, like, you know, if you're, because, I mean, we know who the fuck Jaco is. We've all read that manga. Not everyone else has, and honestly, like, you know, as much as I like the Jaco interaction stuff with Goten and Trunks, this is where, like, pretty much from the point that Frieza's gang shows up, the pacing is really just starts becoming breakneck. They're just trying to get to the next thing really quick. You know, they're actually, I mean, like, certain conversations are actually happening in smaller time frames than they were in the movie. Like, you know, like Frieza's whole, like, revival and stuff. Like,
yeah, I mean,
you know,
I thought the movie was very fast paced. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry, but the anime didn't fix that.
Yeah, like, I mean, because it really didn't, and I really felt, because honestly, I felt like the movie was actually better fucking paced than this at some times, because it's just, it was just like they're just trying to get you to the next thing, and it's like, and I know there's gonna be some asshole in the comments, well, they're rehashing the story, so we've already seen this. Not everyone's seen the movie. You know, and if, like, some people, this is going to be this is going to be the iteration of this fucking story that they see. It should be done right. It should be given some room to breathe.
There's literally no point in watching the arc.
Yeah, like, Kai isn't this fast-paced. Jesus Christ.
Well, I just wanted to add one thing to what Zeon was talking about. Like, yeah, like, if you haven't read the Jaco the Patrolman, you know, you wouldn't have gotten references to, like, many things. And I think that if they had written it better, I think they could have even inspired people to go actually read Jaco the Galactic Patrolman, which would lead to, you know, Omori and Tights and all these characters. And I think that they would be like, oh, crap, like, this guy actually has his own spinoff, instead of just looking at him as some just random alien that just came to visit. Like, because some people might just look at Jaco as this random alien, as opposed to, no, this guy was actually a part of the actual story. And I think that's something they could have done to help themselves.
Yeah, they fucked up big time, because I don't even know. I mean, okay, we know that in Japan there's a lot more manga readers than there are in this country, obviously, because it's part of their culture. But did they not, again, I've had a conversation with Hujio about this. Toei just doesn't think outside of Japan. So they didn't think that people in other countries, and here's the thing, we have Jaco. You can go buy it at Barnes & Noble right now. Oh, but there's countries that see this movie that have no fucking idea.
Yeah.
And that's like, dude, just put a fucking line in there. Oh, well, he met Bulma's sister. And then everybody, wait, Bulma has a sister? when I went to go see this goddamn movie in theaters with Lance, Jaco got like no reaction. And it's like, I feel like if he was either in the series or had a special or something, he would have gotten a huge reaction. Because when I saw the trailer and I saw Jaco, I had a reaction, but of course, I've read the manga. Jay, do you want to add to anything?
I'm recording.
I know you are, Quinn.
You're right here. We're listening, Quinn.
Yeah, we're listening, Quinn. But Jay,
Yep.
do you want to add anything to the manga, bro?
No,
The discussion about Jaco. I'm sorry.
No, they should have elaborated on the Galactic Patrol, why they're afraid of Frieza. Maybe do a filler episode where they have a bit of history between the Galactic Patrol and Frieza's army. Would have been great. And they really, really could have slowed down the arc a little bit in that regard by adding a little bit of filler and padding in. Adding filler in is not a bad thing.
No,
Sometimes it's a good. Sometimes it is actually, you know, it helps an arc, and in this particular situation, it's the only way to help this arc because, like I said earlier, the arc has nothing that happens of consequence. So you could at least add some character development and backstory in for other characters to give the arc something to go back to. And really, they really dropped the ball on that big time. And like I keep saying, this is where the arc just fell off a cliff for me.
Yeah, it was being built up well, and then yeah. All right, before we get to the Frieza soldiers versus the Z fighters sequence, the lack of showing Frieza's training, it still bugs me. I'm not gonna lie about it. It does still bug me because, god damn, bro, you don't even have to. You could do a 3-minute fucking montage, man. You don't even have to take up a whole episode. Just show a little montage. We saw none of it. Some people, and like Zeon would say, swallow everything that comes out of Toriyama's dick. They'll sit there and they'll say, "Oh well, Frieza never trained. That makes sense." I get it, but to me, you have to explain to the audience and demonstrate to the audience how this character is able to go from being a character from 4 fucking arcs ago who was killed off like a bitch to suddenly being the strongest villain they faced thus far. You know, as far as like an actual villain, not like Beerus. So you have to freaking show that to your audience, and they didn't do it. So I'm going to start with Jay. Did the lack of Frieza's training bug you as much as it bugged me? Are them showing it because they had a chance to now?
Absolutely. Again, this goes back to the pacing issues with the Resurrection of F arc. Adding in an episode of Frieza's training for the 4 to 6 months would have been absolutely okay. Fans would have enjoyed it. They could have shown a little bit more of the training with Tagoma, because when you really analyze that scene that you do get a brief scene with Frieza training with Tagoma.
Yeah.
What does Frieza get out of that? Maybe you can understand Tagoma getting something out of that because he's being punished to within an inch of his life and being recovered at the end of every training session, so he might get some sort of boost from that. What the hell does Frieza get out of that other than to control his ki or his damage that he's giving to an enemy a little bit better? That's not going to help him get stronger. Fighting an opponent that's weaker than you isn't going to help you get stronger by Dragon Ball logic. So really, they needed to elaborate on Frieza's training, how he unlocked the golden form. They could have had a foreshadowing of his golden form without showing it to the viewers, because we have to keep in mind, like we've said, some people may not have seen Resurrection of F before, and this would be their first viewing experience for the Resurrection of F area of the story, and they could have done like a foreshadowing of Frieza unlocking a new form without giving anything away, and there would have been a lot of potential there for an entire episode dedicated to Frieza's training. And again, they dropped the ball. So absolutely, I would have liked to see Frieza train in this episode, or in a episode, I should say.
Or at least show a flashback during the fight with Goku, because we were all kind of waiting. I remember Zeon said in his review, we're kind of waiting for, if we're going to show the training during the time period, during the fight with Goku when he first goes to Golden Frieza, have a thing where it like flashes back. Okay, here's how I unlocked this form. This is what I did. Nothing. Quinn, what do you think?
Well, yeah, I have a lot of things to say about this because I'll give super credit at least, and I was talking to Zeon about this, they showed a very quick little, flashback of like Frieza basically kicking Tagoma's ass. And at least we got that, but really that really pissed me off because I was really anticipating to see them like, telling us how they got it, because let's be honest, it's just poor writing. I mean, Frieza's not just weaker than, prior to Golden Frieza, he's not just weaker than the Z-Cast. I mean, we're talking about scales and scales of power scaling ranging from androids to Cell to Majin
leapfrogged
Buu.
Everybody, right?
I mean, you're talking about so many different categories of power that this guy basically is skipped. And you're like, well, this guy can only get this strong if he went through some type of magical super training. And that's why the whole thing about was Frieza trained by Champa that you brought up, Danny, that was a good idea. And they didn't even touch on it. It's like, oh yeah, Frieza just got stronger. Yeah, just accept a much stronger version of Frieza. Yeah, he's Super Frieza now. He's Golden Frieza. It's like, are you kidding me, man? And the whole thing, and I'll just add this too, like the whole thing with Tagoma training with him was an interesting concept that they added, and I'm sure Zeon's gonna say some things about that, but I felt that would have also been interesting to see how he could have gotten stronger too, instead of just saying, "Oh yeah, I got my ass kicked by Frieza every single day, and that made me stronger." It was poor writing.
It pissed me off in the movie. It really did. Maybe it shouldn't, but it did. Zeon, it pissed me off here too. Zeon, what do you think about Frieza? The lack of Frieza
in the movie,
training?
It didn't bother me too much because once again, it's a movie. I give it a lot of leeway. Because like I said,
it has a runtime.
Yeah, like I'm just like whatever, like it has a runtime to deal with, and I viewed the movie as this kind of. Because I don't necessarily think the movie is good. I enjoy the movie, but I view it like kind of like I do like an '80s action flick. It's schlock.
It's basically fun, brainless fun is how I call it.
Yeah, it was big brainless fun.
Once you use your brain, bro.
Yeah, for Dragon Ball Z fans, and I could totally get behind that. When you put it into an arc, though, that's when I start having problems. And like honestly, dude, I would have preferred they just. Because, like I'm actually more pissed at the fact that they show us, like, the Tacoma part of his training than them not showing any training at all in the movie. Because, like, now we got to see some of his training, and what did it consist of? Beating the shit out of a guy who is way weaker than him, and just doing it over and over and over and over until, he had reached some crazy upper tier of power. It's like, really? That's what he... Yeah. I mean, like I was fine, like, with Tagoma. Like, you want to go that route? Like, yes, Tagoma was tempered like fucking steel, put through the fucking ringer day after day, beaten within an inch of his life for 4 months straight. Sure, I'm fine with that. Like, that's the explanation they want to give. I mean, this is the franchise that gave us fucking Zenkai Boost, the laziest power up in the history of power ups. All right, so what the fuck ever, man? They want.
It was like a fucking borderline S&M bondage fetish. Beat me
Goku,
up.
punch me in the dick until I'm stronger. But yeah, like, I can deal with that. Frieza, on the other hand, it's just like, oh well, not only, did he get these huge gains from beating the shit out of a guy? As far as we know, the audience, as far as we know, yeah, I mean, you can sit there and fill it in with your headcanon all you want, but they took the time to fucking show us part of his training. And it was the least impressive thing they could have shown us.
Yes.
It was sad.
No fucking bench pressing a moon or none of this shit.
Yeah,
like
none of that.
Nothing.
Yeah, none of this shit that we could have possibly imagined. Because honestly, I my imagination could have filled in so many things. I'd rather have had nothing than that little something that they gave us, because it actually kind of ruined it. Also, the fact that, like, Frieza gets another transformation. How? Is this something that's natural to his race? Is it something that he had to tap into? Is it kind of like Super Saiyan? Is it literally like a Super Saiyan version of Frieza's race where it was tapped in through rage? Or was it just the fact that, like, his race is just naturally lazy and any kind of fucking training will unlock this friggin' hidden power within you?
Yeah.
What is, like, how does it work? Because, I mean, clearly it works kind of, because the transformation alone kind of annoyed me. The mere fact that, like, it doesn't work like the rest of Frieza's transformations. Because Frieza's transformations, they were like inhibitors. Like, he would have, like, his various lower stages, and his final form is his true form. And then the other forms lock off his power to keep it more constrained. And here we got this, he's in his final form, and he's, got this brand new transformation that works nothing like his previous ones. It's now like a Super Saiyan thing, where he can just power up into it, and it burns up his ki, and then he powers back down out of it. So that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense as far as, like, what we know about Frieza as a character. So they're kind of changing lore on us without filling us in with more information.
Yeah, if you're gonna add like a retcon like that, you have to explain it. It's the way I've always seen it.
Yeah, and just like a throwaway line would have been nice. And like Frieza says that he like chose the color gold, so it's like, oh wait, do you actually get to choose the color? Or did he, because he makes it sound like he chose the color gold because, he was defeated by a Super Saiyan twice. So, it's like, so it's something that he actually gets to choose the color of. And yeah, it's just,
he did
so
say in the movie
things.
He chose that color. He did.
Yeah,
say that
like, yeah. So there's like so many things about that. It's like, that just doesn't really fit or line up for me. And I'm just like, explain this shit, goddammit. Ugh. Yeah.
All right.
It's frustrating.
Can we all agree, and if you don't say something, that them removing the 1.3 million power level line was a good thing?
Fantastic.
Oh yeah, I mean, kudos for them. They took out one line of dialogue and then didn't do anything else to improve that section of the story.
Yeah, it was literally
Give them a
almost
fucking cookie.
it was literally almost the exact same scene as in the movies, walking around and and doing the whole fucking thing. It was like a copy job, really. Okay, let's move on to the fight with the Frieza's army against the fighters. Now, I don't want to talk about the Tagoma thing yet. That's the next topic. But first and foremost, the fight, to me, my opinion, to me, was way less impressive in the anime than it was in the film, in my opinion. It wasn't terrible or anything. I just felt it was like, we know we can't top Yamamoto's choreography. We know we can't top the high budget animation. So let's just fucking slosh it out, which is kind of how I feel about the Golden Frieza Goku fight later on in this arc. Anybody have any thoughts on that? I'm going to start with Zeon this time.
Okay. First off, yeah, the Battle of 1,000 Soldiers, horribly disappointing in the goddamn series, because one, not all the soldiers get to fight. It takes place over the span of a single episode, and not even the entire episode is just them fighting. Like, I'm pretty sure the fight sequence in that episode is shorter than what we got in Resurrection F, which is weird because Resurrection is the movie, and you'd think the movie would have the shorter
weird
fight, but no, fuck no, it's just the series, oddly enough, that had the shorter fight. There's very little Jaco in it. Like, Jaco kicks one dude, that's it. So all the fun moments we had with Jaco, gone. The fight felt very restricted and constrained. Like they the few fighters the few soldiers that were fighting in that
sounds like one of my exes. Oh,
were like the few fighters that actually were fighting were staying within a very contained area. Where in the movie they were flying around, they were splitting up, the characters were being more tactical. And, it really disappointed me that they didn't do more stuff like that. Because you can't just say, like, oh, well, it's a movie. You gotta tell me you can't animate these characters flying around and, like, splitting the fight up. Because, we're talking about, this is Dragon Ball. Like, characters have flown great distances over, like, large expanses. Like, the friggin' Frieza fight took place, like, all over fucking Namek. And you're gonna tell me that
this is like all in one area, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, everyone was does that make any sense?
Everyone was just condensed in this one little spot, and it's like, and not all the 1,000 soldiers were even fighting. So, like, what the fuck was the point? Frieza should have sent all of them.
The choreography, the homages in the movie to, like, Jaco and the whale or the shark or whatever, all that stuff was cool, man. Jaco and Krillin, like, teaming up together, like this wacky, like, get smart pose. Yeah. None of that stuff was here, I feel.
Yeah, yeah. Just little things, like little touches that were in the movie, like visually, just were not here. And once again, like, if anyone wants to bring up budget, like, this isn't a budgetary thing. This is just a direction thing. This is an execution thing. Like, you don't need a lot of money to make a sweet looking fight scene. I want to
execute the fucking director of this shit is what I want to do, bro.
Yeah, like, you don't need a lot of money to, because with a modest budget, we've seen Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Ball Z didn't have a very good budget, but it was still able to make really engaging fight sequences, regardless of how bad the animation was or how good it was. You were always engaged by, like, how they choreographed it, how they framed the fights, how it was paced out. It was, it pulls you in. Here, it's just like, these characters are exchanging a couple of blows here and there. And there was a couple of neat looking, like, a good bit of, like, martial arts going around that looked pretty cool, but for the most part, no, there wasn't. Like, one of my favorite parts of the movie is Kuririn, like, flying past, like, around a mountain and, like, using his Kianzan to, like, cut a mountain and just, cut the mountain and just take all these dudes out. That was great. Nothing like that in the series. And once again, that's not a budgetary thing. You could do that on a cheap budget. So, yeah, there was really no excuse. It's just, I feel like they just want to be like, well, we need to show them fighting, so we'll just have them fighting for a little bit, and then fights over next episode, let's move on to the next thing with Tagoma. And it just, God, what a loveless fucking project this was.
Hey, this arc, even Battle of Gods got more love.
Seriously.
Jay, what do you think?
Yeah, the whole fight with the 1,000 soldiers was probably the best part of that movie, arguably, for just Dragon Ball fans in general. You know, you forget Goku and Vegeta had the limelight later in the movie. That was a great fight, and it would have been nice to see them do something with that fight in the series. At least give it. They could have given that fight two and a bit episodes, and I would have been okay with that. You know, it's 1,000 soldiers we're talking about here, so I personally would have been okay with a couple of episodes dedicated to that 1,000 soldier fight.
Well,
I didn't mind.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I didn't mind the whole Krillin being afraid of Frieza's soldiers and just the presence of Frieza himself, like Zeon mentioned before. This guy killed him, and he's basically back, stronger than ever. But I did love the nod when Krillin kind of got his confidence back and used an attack that he hadn't used since the Saiyan arc. That was fantastic. You know, the one he used on the Cybermen. That was fantastic. I love that.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, that was what I get into that. The Shisami stuff here I thought was much more of a waste than it was in the movie. I like the movie version better, but I did love that moment, though. I really did. Let me ask you a question. Do you think it was a missed opportunity for them not to have had Boo and some other characters involved in this now that they have?
Oh, absolutely. People need to understand that some of these other characters, like even Yamcha, Majin Buu, Goten and Trunks, who do show up, obviously. These are some of the fans' favorite characters. Some people do have these characters as their favorites. Yes, guys, even Yamcha. So when these characters get left out and ignored completely, it's not giving the fans fan service. You could have Yamcha, Majin Buu show up for one episode to fight the 1,000 soldiers and help out. That's giving those fans of those characters something to enjoy out of that arc. You're giving those fans nothing to enjoy out of that arc. So it's vital that they should be doing. They should be doing that sort of thing with the characters, and that's something I learned watching another anime recently. You got to have the Dragon Ball has a lot of characters, but simple stuff like bringing them in for that fight would have been vital to giving the fans of those characters something to enjoy in the arc as a whole.
Quinn, which did you like more, the movie or the TV show version?
Oh, I love the movie significantly better, and you know. Yes, I'm a Piccolo fanboy, but the thing is
we're getting to that soon.
I agree with what Jay was saying in terms of like how having like fan service is important, because I think that when you just kind of like exclude these characters, and especially Goten and Trunks, we'll get to that later on, I think that really, you know, would engage you more if you see like the more Z fighters doing it. And if you're not condensed to like, you know, an hour and a half movie, you could obviously do a lot more. What I didn't like about the Frieza soldier fight the most, though, is that it just didn't feel like engaging, because at least in the movie, you know, Frieza was mentioning how like they were holding back against the Frieza soldiers and they could have killed them whenever they wanted, but it feels like they were just pointlessly fighting him. And it's like, these guys can wipe him out in 2 seconds. Why not at least make it more interesting? Just get rid of them and deal with the henchmen. Because I felt if you're going to put the Frieza soldier fight and make it dull, at least get rid of them quickly so we can move on to the tougher henchmen like Shisami or, you know, Tagoma, which is kind of what irritated me.
They were floating around the whole time.
Yeah, they were just watching it. So one thing that I did find interesting, and this was another really corny scene that I talked to Zeon about this that pissed me off. When Krillin's being all... I'm going to lower my language, but...
No, Quinn. No Qaaman here.
Listen, when Krillin's getting all fucking scared about these stupid-ass fucking Frieza soldiers, and Master Roshi has to tell him, oh, Krillin, don't be scared. You trained with me. You're a great fighter. Get the fuck out of here, man. A Frieza soldier? Are you kidding me? Krillin scared of Frieza soldiers? That pissed me off. I'm like, you've gotta be kidding me. Tien and Gohan have to protect Krillin from fucking Frieza soldiers, and all of a sudden Krillin just learns how to fight again. He's like, oh, this isn't fucking tough. Get the fuck out of here, Dragon Ball Super. I'm sorry, Danny.
No, I love it, bro. You should never apologize for that. All right.
I think I'm like the only person on the planet who didn't mind the whole Krillin being like, you know, kind of pussing out thing.
I didn't care for either way. It wasn't a deal breaker for me.
It was like a PTM reference, you know. PTSD, whatever you call it, post-traumatic stress, whatever.
Yeah, PTSD. Because that's how I always viewed it. I mean, maybe I'm just using my own worthless fucking headcanon there, but I was just like, oh, that's like, because like, yeah, I felt like, you know, they've been doing a lot with Kurin's character in this. Yeah, hey, maybe he's the 5th fighter in the Universe arc.
Yeah, right.
Or Universe 6 arc.
Maybe it's Yamcha.
Right.
Maybe it's Ten Shinhan.
Maybe it's King Chappa.
Oh man, But yeah, just
Yeah.
I didn't have a problem with the Kuririn, thing. Honestly, like I did have a problem like how he got over. It's like you trained with me, you've seen all these great fights. It's like, how about saying, hey, Kuririn, you're kind of a badass. You're like in the top 1% of strongest motherfuckers on this planet.
Yeah.
Punch a motherfucker.
And then not to mention they took on Frieza's men when they were on Namek anyways. It's weird.
Yeah,
Right.
Krillin kicked the shit out of a Frieza soldier the second he got to Namek, and they
That's
blew up
right.
his ship. It was like, seriously, come on.
And now we all kind of, if anybody wants to jump in on and disagree with me, I think we all were pretty satisfied with the not satisfied. We all kind of liked the whole Whis training with Goku Vegeta going into the other universe or whatever. I thought that was pretty good stuff. I want to see more of that, but I thought it was pretty cool that they were in there. Anybody object?
No, I thought that was great.
Yeah,
Okay.
the whole.
Go ahead.
I'll just say the whole highlight of this arc for me was the training
With the fist.
Goku and Vegeta. Goku and Vegeta on Beerus's planet, training with Whis, being inside his staff when Whis tells them to keep their ki and not let it flow outside of their body. That stuff's the most interesting stuff in this arc, to be perfectly honest with you, because that is building something. It's giving you something that wasn't in the movie. So again, Super is at its strongest when it's delivering stuff not in the movie, because they're lazily, and that's not necessarily because we've seen the stuff that's in the movie, it's because they're doing a lazy adaptation. That's why it's boring. So the stuff that is not in the movie is very, very interesting, and I definitely enjoy that stuff.
Now let's talk about Tagoma. Let's talk about the entire thing, not just Tagoma, but also the arrival of Gotenks, the nerfing of Gohan, all this in one conversation here. Did you feel? Here's the real question. I don't want to recap the events. We've already done that on all of our reviews. And people watching this have already seen the arc. And if you haven't seen the arc, then we're spoiling it for you. Just go watch the... Well, I don't want you to watch the arc, but watch it, and then you'll know what we're talking about. Most people watching this probably already did see it. But still, everything. The Tagoma push, for lack of a better term. The Ginyu return, which I like the fact that Ginyu came back, but it was at the end of the day, it was a complete waste. Vegeta being the one that took him out. Gohan's little power-up that led to nothing. I'm not going to talk about the death of Piccolo yet. That's being saved for another segment, the next segment, so Quinn can talk. And also, just the fact that just Tagoma became the centerpiece for about 2 or 3 episodes. I have said it very, I've been very clear on this. I hate episode 22. I don't like the fact there's all these inconsistencies and plot holes. I mean, there's only 1 or 2 plot holes, but they bugged me because they could have been fixed. Gotenks defuses in like a minute. Just everything about that episode.
Ginyu being able to write change now in the sand in some alien language, and then Tagoma can say it and initiates the transformation.
Yeah, we never knew that that's how it worked. So it's not really a plot hole, but it kind of is a plot hole. Like, it's kind of in between. Yeah, exactly. Like, all that shit. The fact that suddenly Tagoma's that strong with Ginyu. Like, how the hell did Ginyu learn how to control Tagoma's body? That one's also kind of iffy.
I don't want to go on a rant, but I'll just say that it just makes no sense for that to be the case with someone else saying change now. Because you can't tell me Ginyu hasn't been having a general conversation, just in the context of that particular line, okay, in the series. Let's just say, hypothetically, Ginyu's having a conversation with someone and they say the words change now. Would that initiate a switch of bodies when he doesn't want it to happen?
Remember, it's not change now, it's change.
Change. But you know what I mean? Like,
but that's
someone
even worse.
could say change having a conversation with him, and he could change bodies with someone he doesn't want to change bodies with. So that line makes no fucking sense at all.
No, it doesn't. You're right. Unless maybe Ginyu was... There is a headcanon here. Maybe Ginyu was like prepared for the technique, and all he had to do was hear the trigger word. But again, this is a shonen thing, right? Why the fuck do you have to yell the name of the move? That's such a shonen thing. I like it because I like shonen shit, but it's such a fucking shonen thing. Change. Why don't you just fucking change? Why does somebody have to say the word change? What is the point of saying a word and suddenly something happens? Like, is it an enchantment?
Because kids are watching it.
Yeah, well, kids are stupid, like Zeon said. All right. So, all right. Everybody, Quinn, you go first, man. Your thoughts on the Tagoma push versus in the movie. Do you think that they utilized Tagoma better in the film? Do you think it even mattered?
I'll say this. I thought that they were using him better up until the Zeon point. And I keep referring to Zeon all the time, but I felt like I was like, okay,
you love that motherfucker.
When they when they killed fucking Shisami, And I was like, oh shit, like he killed his own guy. I was like, oh shit, here we go. Here's Tagoma, and he's kicking everybody's ass. Unfortunately, he ripped off a person's arm. But, you know, he's like beating everybody up, and it's like, wow, like this guy is like kicking ass, and like, oh shit, how are they gonna fucking deal with this guy? And then all of a sudden you see like the frog show up, and I'm like, oh god, here we go. It was so predictable because why else would you bring the frog there?
The
And
frog
when Ginyu
just happened to find them, by the way.
right, just randomly out of all these years. And I'm like, all right, well, the frog comes. And by the way, what the fuck is the lifespan of Namekian frogs anyways? Moving on.
It's almost like they were trying to, I'm interrupted, but it's almost like they were trying to like be cute with it. But at the end, when you use your brain, when you turn your brain on, it makes no sense.
Yeah. What's the lifespan of frogs? But anyways, so I saw the frog change and I was like, okay, Ginyu's back. It's decent. It's a nice way to bring Ginyu back, but it's like, what pissed me off is like you're not only jeopardizing Tagoma as a character because we basically were seeing him built up. He's going through all these depressed emotions being trained by Frieza, and he gets basically switched out for fucking Ginyu. And then guess what? Ginyu's thrown away too because as soon as Vegeta comes, he kills him. So that's what pissed me off. They started off great. They were bringing in some energy, and then they just throw it away. And that whole Gotenks headbutt thing was like completely pointless.
Zeon. Jay, you know what, Jay, you go first, and then we'll go to Zeon.
Yeah, I just want to add that, you know, I don't have a problem. Okay, well, I kind of do have a problem with Ginyu showing up. It's really fucking contrived for the frog to just be there on the spot and be like, yeah, Ginyu's here, you know, like he just happens to be where Frieza's ship lands, and where Sorbet and Tagoma land to revive Frieza.
He just happens to be there, happens to have the guy in the right spot, happens to do the move, happens to control the body. Fuck you, Dragon Ball Super.
3 fucking contrived scenes here. Two really. He shows up when Frieza's getting revived. He shows up at the battlefield, and then 3, yeah, because Tagoma just happens to be on his hands and knees. How convenient! I'll just hop up and change, and then my brain accepts that happens. I'm like, okay, he's back, whatever. Wasted Tagoma, and then the fact that Vegeta kills him. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. When Vegeta killed him, I kind of popped and had a laugh about it because I always like kind of envisioned that's how
and Vegeta would finally killed every member of the
the entire Ginyu Force. When that clicked, I was like, that's awesome. Yeah, I was like, that's awesome. But again, and that's exactly how I imagined Vegeta would kill Tagoma if those two were to fight, which we kind of picked from the next episode preview. I think Vegeta should finish that fight in one shot. That's just the way it should be. He's so much more powerful than Tagoma. So that happened, and then I kind of just sat there and felt, you know, they wasted Tagoma, and not only did they waste Tagoma, they wasted Ginyu. Even though Vegeta got to kill him and I laughed, they did waste that character. So that was all unnecessary padding in the grand scheme of things because, again, it has no consequence and it adds nothing to the story whatsoever. So they seem to add padding in the wrong parts of Dragon Ball Super for this arc. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, it was like they were trying to get cute with like, oh, let's bring back Frog Ginyu, and it was just like it led nowhere. Like even if I would have liked it better if Ginyu would have like switched bodies with Tagoma and then just escaped from the fight and like never fought, or maybe appeared later on, like, you know, in a comedy routine or whatever. But making him a badass, and why? Like, why would he even? I mean, he's that much of a Frieza cocksucker that he has to come back and risk his life and wound up dying as a result of it. And again, Gotenks can sense Tagoma, but not Frieza. Get the fuck out of here,
yeah,
bro.
That really, and I said that in my review, Danny. That really pissed me off when they sensed his power coming. And I'm like, not only did you not sense Frieza's power, you also didn't notice all of the Z fighters just happened to be accumulating in one area at a time. Why is everybody just happen to getting together? Isn't that something?
Zeon.
Okay. This is where the arc really, really starts tanking for me because you do the whole reveal of Tagoma's going to be the badass. He fucking kills Shisami, you know, and it's this big shock and awe moment. And, you know, and he gives this whole backstory about how he got the shit beaten out of him and how, like, he, like, tempered himself and, like, you know, how he's going to, like, fight, you know, like, you know, show Frieza what he's made of and all this stuff. And, like, because he does go kind of from being, like, this bit of, like, a bitch character at the beginning to, like, he actually had a fucking arc. Someone had a character arc in this arc. Fucking imagine that. And, yeah, they do that. And then like the fight starts. First off, the fight was goddamn garbage because like he starts taking people out in one hit, which doesn't make for an engaging fight scene.
Not to mention that if you're gonna do that, he should be a lot stronger than he wound up being, right?
Yeah, yeah. So he's just like one-shotting everybody, and then fucking Gotenks shows up, and then immediately defuses. What the fuck?
What the fuck?
Like seriously, because everyone's like all excited, like, oh my god, they added Gotenks. Oh my god, Tagoma is gonna be like he's gonna do shit, like be the badass, and like he's like the mini boss. And it's like, what fucking good is this change if it has no goddamn bearing on the story, or at least doesn't provide us with something fucking interesting? Fuck you. Like it's like, oh my god, Gotenks is here for 5 fucking seconds. Gee, thanks for that. Fucking blue-balled me on that. And then, like, you know, he's on the fucking ground holding his alien balls, and then Ginyu just hops along and then switches with them. It's like, congratulations, you just took one of the most interesting villains that this fucking franchise has produced in God knows how long, and you swap him out with Ginyu, a fucking joke character.
It became a joke. Yeah.
Yeah, a fucking joke character is who you swap him out with. Fuck you.
Tokusentai, right, Danny?
Ginyu Tokusentai.
Oh my god.
I like Captain Ginyu. He
Like,
he was a tough guy back in the day.
Yeah, I mean, like, the thing is, though, like his whole, like, you know, he had the whole, like, goofy Sentai bullshit going on with him. He was a gag character. He was a very dangerous gag character, but he was a fucking gag character. And you fucking replace, you have him swap bodies with the first interesting villain of this fucking series, like, you know, like one of the most, okay, I take it back. Beerus is way more interesting as a character. Beerus is one of my favorite villains, villain-y character.
Yeah.
You know, characters, but, you know, Tagoma was a great fucking addition, and you swap him out. It's like, really? Are you fucking kidding me? So they did that. Huge fucking mistake. You know, and then after that, like, you know, he, like, knocks everyone out in one fucking punch, and then Gohan fucking turns SS1 and drops him in 2 hits like a fucking bitch. Okay. Now, first off, that happens.
Which again makes no sense. He's able to. Okay, how the fuck is this guy able to one-shot all those Z fighters?
Yeah, like how the fuck does he turn Piccolo? How the hell does he fucking bend Piccolo over like a cheap fucking prostitute, but then Gohan drops him? What the fuck?
Yeah,
that is
like,
horseshit.
I can accept a weaker Gohan being stronger than Piccolo. I can accept that, but
the fact
that much stronger?
Yeah. Like, it's like you know, Quid feels that pain. But yeah, it was fucking bullshit. Like, I'm not even a fucking Piccolo fanboy, and I'm like, that's bullshit. No. So, you know, that was fucking infuriating. And also, with the whole, when Gotenks defuses, going back to that tangent, they defuse, he recognizes them as looking like Goku and Trunks, or in future Trunks. Frieza does nothing. It does nothing. It doesn't excite any rage in him, doesn't trigger anything, nothing. So all the freaking, like, things and speculations we had about, like, what would possibly happen if Frieza saw Goten and Trunks? Well, apparently he'd go, huh, they look kind of like those guys who beat the shit out of me and killed me. Ain't that some shit? Nothing!
Yeah.
Goddamn nothing!
That was one of those things, again, where they could have put cutting. They could have put filler in a good part of the series. They could have had, like, a little bit of this, but they didn't do it.
And the part that even people like where Vegeta gets the kill on Ginyu with, like, one blast. Yeah, that's cool that Vegeta gets to kill all the Ginyu Force. Yeah, it's cool that he wiped out this badass in one hit in his base form. Honestly, that looks stupid as hell, like, the way they animated it, because Vegeta's just kind of, like, crouched down in front of him, and, like, kind of, like, it looks like he's, like massaging his fucking man-titty before he blasts him into oblivion. Like, it's drawn at such an awkward, weird angle. And I don't know, like, if they were trying to go for something like whenever, like, he put his hand through Zarbon and blasted him, but they can't do it because, you know, censorship.
Yeah, it's a
like, you know,
show.
but like, I don't know if they were trying to go for something like that, but it looked really stupid, like the angle it was at. I mean, you know, they could have done anything. Like, honestly, I would have been fine with anything other than that. Like, hell. Like, you know, Vegeta could have, like, bitch smacked his fucking head off of his shoulders, and I would have found that better than him, you know, massaging his chest before blasting him into fucking hell.
Here's what should have happened. Vegeta should have hit him in the nuts again, and then while he's on the ground holding his nuts, Vegeta just blasts his head off with a ki blast. That would have been awesome.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so many things they could have done that but no, they
Screw
went that
that
route,
DHA.
and it just looked really stupid. It's where like the wonky animation really starts showing, where like they don't know how to frame a shot, they don't know how to do the choreography, they don't know how to frame things. It's just
It
All
was
right,
such a
next
wasted
episode.
idea. All right, all right. Well, I want to go to Quinn on this one. All right,
Oh.
Quinn, your two favorite characters are Piccolo and Gohan. Both of them became the biggest bitches. Okay, first of all, Frieza shoots Piccolo and kills him in this version. Obviously, I know what version you like more based on that. We don't even need to ask you that one. I feel like the Piccolo death was meant to replace the destruction of North City. Like they swapped them out. I don't really know why, because I thought Frieza blowing up North City in his first form was very impressive, and I thought they should have kept it. We didn't see that in this version. Gohan powers up, Piccolo's dead, sacrifices life for him like he did before, two times, in fact, really. Jumps in front of the blast, Piccolo's dead, and he died. Gohan powers up, doesn't do shit with it. Rage boost means dick. Goku shows up to bail his son out. Daddy saves the son again. What do you think, Quinn? I'm going to just go to you on this one and then let anybody else chime in with anything. What do you think?
Well, there was one quick sequence, Danny, where when Gohan did power up, he was beating up Tagoma for like a split second, though. Or was that Ginyu at that point? There was like a quick point where he went Super Saiyan and he was kicking his ass. I do remember like for like a split second, but he instantly became a witch with a B right after that. And the problem I have with everything you're saying, Danny, is the fact that I felt like Piccolo's death was just there to create a small sense of tensity.
It was pointless, dude. And then, no, I'm sorry, Quinn, but then Goku shows up and says, "Oh, well, we'll just wish him back with the Namek Dragon Ball." It's great.
Yeah, just kill him for no reason. Now, I've argued with many people. Some of them might be on this call right now, and it's been on. It was basically what GT did with Piccolo, and I felt that they killed him for no reason. I do think that Piccolo dying in GT did, in some ways, improve their lives because it got rid of the whole Dragon Ball, thing. But I just felt in the grand scheme of things, because shit went down anyways, it's like, well, you might as well just bring him back. But then, there's a whole argument about that. So the point is, I don't like it when you kill a character for no reason, because it's like, well, Piccolo's this character, let's just kill him to protect Gohan and then just bring him back in the next arc, which we know he'll be back for. And it's like, well, why don't you at least try to create some form of tensity instead of just saying, oh, you could just use the Dragon Balls? Like, make it somewhat like, oh yeah, Piccolo can't be revived for X amount of time, or you can't do, at least another character gets killed. Put some sort of tensity to make that moment important, because the Dragon Balls have also been one of the biggest problems with Dragon Ball. I felt that's what they screwed up with Piccolo. Now, Gohan, oh boy, I could do a whole video on that. Gohan has become the series' biggest. He's like basically the Saiyan version of Yamcha now. And the problem I have,
Dr. Love's gonna be mad at you for that one, by the way.
Well, listen, and anybody who criticizes me, I'll just say this: Gohan used to be my favorite character in the series, Teen Gohan specifically, and his character's gone down over time. But what I didn't like with Gohan is that when he got upset over Piccolo's death, I would have expected at least something, like at least charge Frieza, charge Tagoma / Ginyu, like do something of use to show your rage boost over it, not just power up and then have Daddy come save you. And it's kind of the same thing I was saying in a video that's going to go up 6 months that I did with, Zeon and Danny about, where we were talking about, like, it would have been nice if, during, it would have been nice during GT if, like, when Goku's being, like, crippled by Baby, if Pan went Super Saiyan for at least a split second and, like, at least, like, poked Baby or did something, and I felt like they just completely wasted his power. You made Piccolo die, so Gohan got pissed off and powered up just to bring Goku and Vegeta back. Fuck you, Super. You screwed over Gohan and Piccolo once again.
What a fanboy this guy is. Jay's okay with it, though, because it means more time for Vegeta. So, let's move on, then. Let's talk about...
I just want to throw up
whatever
a couple of things. Okay, first off, I'm totally fine with the Gohan stuff, the way they did the whole Gohan thing. Like, the Rage Boost, yeah. The only thing it really facilitates is getting Goku... It's a key signature for Goku to lock onto. Whatever.
Yeah, well, not just that, but also I did like how at the end of the arc they kind of talked about how Gohan may actually take this seriously.
Yeah.
So if this actually if that actually triggered something in Gohan, then we're actually seeing development, which is a good thing. So we
Yeah.
might not give that one a full thumbs down.
Yeah, so like I mean, like the fact that like it seems like it's actually going to, because yeah, if they had just had Gohan train this entire time, I would call bullshit because that's going against Gohan's character. But now Gohan was in a situation where he saw someone he loved die in front of him, you know, and this is the second time this person has died in front of him, protecting him. Yeah, I could see how that would, you know, trigger something in Gohan. Like, okay, like you gave Gohan a sufficient character motivation for wanting to train again, you know, to protect the ones he loves. You gave him a character motivation. Cool. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
The way Piccolo died was horseshit. All right? I am getting really sick and tired. Like, what the fuck is Piccolo's regenerative power? Like what is its limitation?
Retconning it. They established
because,
in the Buark that if he had his head, he could regenerate.
Yeah,
Yes.
and I've had so many people try to argue because, you know, I did my whole plot holes video. I'd brought up like, you know, he died here, he passed out here, he blacked out here, you know, like, you know, he had to be healed. It's like, you know, yeah, people kept arguing, you know, with me. It's like, well, you know, his ki was really drained in those situations. You know, like you know, he had like no ki left, and that's why he couldn't. And it's like, okay, fine. You want to make that argument? He was at full fucking power when he took that shot to the chest. He had a fucking senzu bean just before, and he fucking took that hole to the chest. And I'm like, and people said like, well, his regenerative healing, you know, it brings back his limbs. It doesn't bring back, like, you can't like patch up holes in them. He can regenerate his entire body. If having a hole in his chest is that much of a problem, like you apparently can't heal that, rip your own fucking head off and regenerate the rest of it. That was stupid fucking bullshit. Like, if you want to fucking void Piccolo out, like, just fucking disintegrate him and say, like, oh yeah, he's dead. Okay, fine. That's what you want to do. Cool.
Well, can I just say like two quick things? One thing I want to say really quick about Piccolo is that when Frieza shot him through the chest, that kind of reminded me not so much of Nappa, but kind of what happened on Namek where Frieza injured him. And the second thing I wanted to say, just to support Zeon a little bit more, that whole Piccolo regeneration thing's kind of weird because in the Boo saga when Trunks broke his statue, like he was in complete pieces. How the fuck do you regenerate from that?
Yeah. He said like, as long as I have my head, I can regenerate. You know, people seem to forget that though. But yeah, it was stupid fucking bullshit.
All right, let's move on. Golden Frieza versus Goku.
Oh boy.
The arrival of Goku, the reveal of Frieza going into his fourth form, destroying the henchmen, the Goku's fight with Frieza, you know, the entire fight really, from when he reveals the transformation of SS God, SS, all that stuff. I'm going to start with Quinn. What do you think about the fight, just the whole fight?
Well, starting off
this
with the
version versus the movie, I mean.
Just the Goku or the one with Goku and Vegeta?
No, just Goku versus Golden Frieza. Vegeta, that's the last topic we have.
All right. I think that in terms of the Goku fight, it, like I was saying before, like some of my general problems, I felt it felt stretched out because, you know, something that took place in a few minutes, they were stretching it out throughout various episodes. And I knew that it was going to happen, where Goku's going to spend a whole episode fighting him in his base form, then he's going to go Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan, and then he's going to go Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan and look like he's winning. But then the fight changes. And, you know, some people have a problem with that pacing, and I've talked to Jay about this, and he made a good point talking about, you know, Dragon Ball Z versus Dragon Ball Kai, and that whole Goku versus Frieza fight on Namek was very similar in the sense that there were many episodes where, you know, it's like basically the same thing was happening. You know, Goku's fighting Frieza, people want to make a wish, you know, shit happens. But what I didn't like about it is that this is where the animation went south again. And the animation was decent up until this point, and we made a whole video about this. In my opinion, the really poorly animated episodes up to this point were episode 1 and episode 5 and 9. Like, those were the ones where it was consistently bad. And then it went just south. It's like there was that picture of Frieza that looked like, you know, a kindergarten drawing. And it's like, I felt that if you're gonna stretch out a fight, make it fucking look good. And that's where I think this series went south, because I was liking some of the changes, even though the changes weren't to the best. I liked that they were deviating away from Resurrection F. But then when Goku started fighting Frieza, the animation went south, the choreography looked terrible, and really honestly, they were just padding it out.
Yeah, and I just want to say, it's not just in comparison to the movie. It looked not... I mean, I'm not going to bitch about the animation here, but I have to. Like, you can't just ignore it. It looked like shit, you know. And there's talk that, you know, first of all, Yamamoro's very expensive, and a lot of the big Toei artists already did the movie. So why would they come back and do this shit? You know what I mean? So it's like, whatever. But I mean, come on, like, it was a waste of time. That's the way I see it. Do you have anything more to add, Quinn, before we go to Jay?
No, that's pretty much it.
Jay, your thoughts on Golden Frieza versus Goku, the transformation, the fight, everything. The only thing that I thought was cool was that Frieza was trying to attack Bulma and shit and like trying to cheat to distract Goku. I like that touch. I really did like that touch, but I still think the movie version of the fight was better.
Yeah, I feel like base
Way better.
Goku versus, you know, Frieza in his you know, his natural form, so to speak, is a little bit better done in the movie in terms of the actual fight choreography and all that, but we expect that with a bigger budget. But what I will say is Frieza seemed more in character in Dragon Ball Super by fighting dirty to win the fight against Goku. Frieza is a character that doesn't give a shit. He will do whatever it takes to win a fight. He will hurt whoever he has to hurt to get what he wants. So him attacking Bulma and trying to attack other people was very, very in character for him, and I enjoyed that. And the actual fighting itself wasn't fantastic, but it was passable for me in that part of the episode. It didn't really start to get bad until the God transformation. The God transformation itself was pretty enjoyable for me. I did enjoy seeing Goku turn into a Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan in Super. I felt it was still strong. The transformation was strong in both the movie
I
and
agree.
Super. I didn't really have a preference. I thought they were both good. I thought Sumitomo's score was good in both. But after the transformation, it just kind of it was patchy.
Yeah.
The first half of the episode was fine, and then you could just tell that something happened. They were rushed, or they changed animation team. It felt like they changed animation teams halfway through the episode, but it just went downhill. And I don't like whinging about the animation any more than anyone else does. It's one of those things we understand it's a series, but it's still an unacceptable standard even for a TV series, and they could do better. And the fact of the matter is, if the fact that they can do better is disappointing, and it's insulting to the fans. And it's kind of embarrassing to say this is my favorite anime when that's the sort of stuff they're putting on screen. I was
Yeah.
I was insulted and I was embarrassed as a fan that they presented me with that, even if they are trying to meet a 1 week deadline. And that fight, when it was bad, it was really bad.
And it was
when
it was rarely good, honestly.
yeah. And when it was good, it was subpar, to be honest with you.
It's like
So
even in the movie, right? They went underwater. They went to that little canyon, this and that. It was fine. It wasn't the best fight. It was to me, the movie version of the fight was not the best. It kind of dragged on a bit, but man, it was all animation. It was all the beautiful freaking colors and Yamamoro's art. But man, this thing. I'm sorry, Jay. Continue.
yeah, I exactly like. The movie did the fight justice, to say the least, and Super, even if the choreography was subpar as well, if they had just touched up and fixed up the way it was drawn a little bit and made it a bit smoother when they actually were doing the animation, it would have been just that little bit better and it would have been passable. But what I got in this Golden Frieza versus Goku fight wasn't even passable. Like I said, subpar. I could not. If I was to mark this on a grading system, I would give it a D plus because it doesn't pass. And to be honest with you, I do look forward to watching it again when it gets done on home release. I do look forward to watching it again just to see how they touch it up. But I don't hold any hopes, and that's very disappointing because although this arc, as I've said several times, nothing happens of consequence. It was an action arc, and the fighting.
And the action sucked.
Yeah, if you're not going to give,
Right.
if you're not going to elaborate on the parts of the story that need to be elaborated on, if you're not going to put filler in the right parts that need filler, the least you could do is make sure the fighting is spot on, and it wasn't.
Or
So
elaborate the characters, like you said. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, what do we have left to recover this arc? After the episode where Goku and Frieza had fought in their Golden and Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan forms respectively, I felt like that's where I felt nothing could save this arc, and I was just really, really ashamed at what they had presented the fans with.
Zeon.
And that was really disappointing.
I'm sorry. Yeah,
That's all right.
I'm done. Yeah, I thought it was let down too. Zeon Smash.
That fight was shit. Oh my god. Okay, like I was really looking forward to this fight scene, by the way. Like I was just like, okay, You know, because I like the choreography that was going on in like the a lot of the backdrop stuff that they used during the movie version of this fight. I was actually looking forward to seeing like what they're going to do because in the movie they put in a whole lot of horrible ass CGI, like a lot of terrible fucking CGI that is very 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 goddamn noticeable, like low budget shitty goddamn
It's still
CGI.
better than this.
Right? Like, I was just like, man. Well, I mean, this was a horrible eyesore. Certainly, the TV series has to be better. And then someone just fucking shoves their thumbs in my eyes, and I'm like, ah! That's what this experience was like. Oh my god, I was not expecting that. Because, Jesus Christ, man. Like, I'm not the biggest fan of the original Frieza fight from Z, but I'll admit, that's a pretty badass fight for the most part. There's some good choreography, just everything about that fight. Like, I went back and watched it recently, like a good chunk of it. And even, like, the beginning of that fight, like, it had a really good build-up where, like, because a lot of people said, like, the first couple episodes, the first 2 episodes of this 3-episode fight, but no one knew this was going to be 3 fucking episodes.
I mean, you would think based on the Namek fight, it would be like 10, but it was
right?
3.
Right? It was because like people were saying like well like it's the warm up, and I'm like yeah I guess it's the warm up. So like I was trying to give it some fucking leeway. Then when I found out that the 3rd episode of this fight was the last episode, I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
The fucking rush job. Plus, I mean,
Yeah.
the movie, dude, let's be real. The Goku Frieza before they transformed fight in the movie, where it's like that badass choreography with Goku throwing elbows and shit. Like, it was so fucking
Yeah.
awesome. Like, that was good shit.
Yeah, I went back and rewatched it, and like it looked great.
My God, it might have been one of the best fights choreograph-wise in the whole series. And
Yeah,
this,
like I loved it, and like I went back and rewatched it. And I'm like, like yeah, I understand. Like you can't get that kind of fluidity, but like you could still get really good animation. Like I mean, there's plenty of like iconic badass moments in the original Frieza fight. So yeah, it was really like just disappointing that they just completely like this is where they completely just shit the bed. This is where like because I mean it had been on this fucking declining like roller coaster, and you're waiting for it to ramp back up, and instead the fucking track breaks underneath you and you just fall to your death. Oh my god, I just So yeah, like I said, the animation was goddamn horrible. The art was horrible. The choreography was terrible. Just nothing about this was visually engaging. Never before have I watched a 3 episodes worth of fight and thought, God damn, I'm so fucking bored. Because that's what it is. It was boring. And you should never say, God damn, I'm bored while watching the big climactic fight of a Dragon Ball Z series or a Dragon Ball series.
It's bad. Now,
Jesus Christ.
All right. Last topic of this extremely long talk Dragon Ball. Everything after that. Last episode, mostly the end of the arc. Vegeta versus Frieza. Vegeta unveils his transformation. Looks good. That's fine. I like the fact that Frieza did not tempt Vegeta in this version, because I thought that was stupid. It would make no sense to me that Frieza would really, really think that Vegeta would join him again after killing him, his father, and the whole fucking planet. It makes no sense to me. They could even trust him again. So I'm glad they cut that out. And Vegeta's ass whooping of Frieza. In the movie, it looked cool. I liked how they did the homage to the Matrix with the kick that stayed in the air. But man, what a thrashing Vegeta gave Frieza in the series. It was so damn satisfying for Vegeta fans, which is why Jay is going on last here. And then also the explosion of the Earth was so much more haunting. It was like some Order 66 shit, except you actually care about the characters. Like you're seeing like Baby Pan with Videl and, Krillin's kid with 18. All these characters just die. They died. And I thought that the impact of that was way better. Goku's final Kamehameha looked a little shitty compared to the movie. It was much more epic in the movie. And, of course, the big party at the end was really fun, seeing Gohan talk to Piccolo again. And I love the little touch where Trunks was like, oh, I'll cut him in half if I ever see him again. That was awesome, man. I thought the last episode of this arc, it didn't make up for the previous 3, but I thought they closed the arc better than the movie. Better than the fucking movie, if you ask me. Zeon, go first.
yeah, definitely, without a doubt. Like, if anything that this arc did right was the fucking, like, how they ended this. Like the ending was fantastic. The Vegeta fight. Vegeta beats the teetotal shit out of Frieza. That was really cathartic. I really dug that. The explosion thing was way more emotional. Whis has that line about how, like, oh, by the way, before we go back, I can only do this once in a while. So Goku has, like, one chance to do this. It's not like you can just keep doing it over and over again. So, like, yeah, he does tell him, like, yeah, I can't do this immediately after. So, it adds some tension that wasn't there originally. So, there's a lot of elements that, like, it's just all these little things, like these little lines, these little visuals, these little changes that just added up to so much. Like, and that's the thing, like that's really all I really wanted.
Right?
That's all I really needed for these episodes was just take what was in the movie. Like, because I'm not upset, because a lot of people were like, oh, you're just fucking upset because it's just retelling the movie and you're just bored because, you've already seen this. No. Motherfucker. I can go back and pop the Saiyan arc in right now. It'll be just as engaging as I watched it, like, 10 years ago. Like, already knowing what's gonna happen doesn't make this less interesting. Like, them doing a shitty job of adapting the story and presenting it as a fucking arc, that was the problem. This was an excellent example. This one episode was an excellent example of just taking what was there and just improving it tenfold with just the most minute things that you do to just make it just that much better.
All right, Quinn, your thoughts on
the
finale of the Resurrection F arc.
Alrighty, guys. So basically, in a nutshell, especially with the Vegeta fight, I felt that it was better because they spend a little bit more time, like, exaggerating how Vegeta's just kicking Frieza's ass, and I like that. And I do like that there was emotion to, like, Earth actually blowing up. But I kind of agree with Danny in the sense of that whole Goku, like, destroying Frieza thing. It just didn't have that same dynamic effect. And at the same time, I felt that the way Tagoma died, Sorbet died, I felt that was kind of cheap. Was I the only person who felt that?
It was like the same shit, except it was like a hole through his chest. I didn't care.
It was just, I don't know. I felt that was kind of cheap the way they did it. But at the same time, though, I do feel like, that final episode did put, some good icing on the cake. But Danny, unfortunately, I know you might not. I know that you think the whole thing with, Vegeta, obviously, having that whole discussion with Frieza, like, joining my side. I actually think that was better for the series. And not because of the fact that it's realistic or not, but because of the fact that Frieza's a person, as said before, he'll do anything to win. And if he sees that he's in an improbable situation, he would start talking shit. And that actually reminded me, Danny, of the scene of when Goku's fighting, Frieza on Namek, and basically Goku's winning, and Frieza starts talking shit. Please help me! And Goku gives him energy, and it, like, goes towards Frieza as a person. Same thing we saw with King Cold. Please. And I'm like, that's like Frieza, like, that's his personality. And I felt that whole tempting thing, even if it wouldn't work, I felt added more towards Frieza's personality. So that's the only thing I wish they still kept in. Sorry to disagree with you.
Okay. Jay, Vegeta, satisfying. What do you think?
I did look at this episode as a whole and how it was closing at the arc. I felt that was the most important part of this episode, was the fact that the last 2 or 3 episodes prior to this had left a bad taste in my mouth, and I was kind of sitting there going, I'm not looking forward to watching this episode. And it surprised me. It genuinely surprised me. The Vegeta fight aside, I'll get to that in a minute, but the way it showed the emotional... It was more emotional, like Zeon said, when the planet blew up. You get to see exactly what each character was doing at the time the planet exploded. Having the party after Frieza was defeated was very important to me because that was something they didn't show in the movie. And having the characters bond, having Gohan ask Piccolo to train him again, realizing that, he needs to start protecting his loved ones and keep his training up. There were so many little things here in this episode that made me... Super is very frustrating for me. It's like being in a relationship with a girl that you don't get along with.
I love the relationship comparisons.
Because just when you think you're about to leave this girl and break up with her, she just pulls you back in, man. She just pulls you back in. And Super's kind of like that for me, man. every time I feel like I'm hating this series, and I still know that that arc as a whole was a really, really unacceptable arc, and the effort that they put in was really not acceptable. That last episode made me go, oh, now I want to see what's going to happen next week, even though, because not only do we not know what is going to happen next week, that episode right there epitomizes how every episode in this arc should have been done. They elaborated on stuff. The storytelling was well done. The pacing was good. Now to the Vegeta fight. Yes, it was very satisfying to see him lay the beat down on Frieza in that regard, and to me, the beating that he gives Frieza in Super hands down beats the movie. It was more brutal. It's one of the more brutal fights I've seen in the series for a while. And also Goku giving Vegeta the nod and saying, he obtained the God power by himself. He didn't use the God ritual. And I'm getting a lot of people saying, oh, Vegeta should have killed Frieza, and that's fine. That's fine. I'm happy for people to say that. It's Goku's the main character. I don't have a problem with it. They need to understand Vegeta's moment in this episode was Goku states he obtained the transformation by himself without the God ritual. He did it with his own power. That's key words there. He did it with his own power, and then he proceeds to kick the shit out of Frieza. As a Vegeta fan, I really don't see what more you could want. That's my opinion. And overall, this was the best episode in this arc, hands down. That's how I looked at it.
Some people have said it's the best episode in the entire series.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, but I would argue that it's not. I'd say it's up there in the top 3, but because the Beerus versus Goku fight was pretty damn good up until the whole fucking planet busting shit in space. But before that, it was pretty damn good, and that felt like the Dragon Ball Z days of old. Dragon Ball Super was, this episode here was the best episode in the Resurrection of F arc, easily by a fucking country mile.
All right, we're going to end with this. First of all, thanks everybody for tuning into this long review, and I hope you all enjoyed it. I'm sure most of you guys were listening to this at the gym or in the background. So thank you, and we all thank you as well. Definitely check out Super Jayain, Qaaman, of course, as if you need to. Quinn's channel, but it's called Qaaman's Land. Rename it to Quinn's Land. QA12's Land. And of course, Hail Zeon, who always drops super reviews every week, even though he hates it. But here is the...
I don't hate it. I'm kind of like Jay, man. It's like this horrible abusive relationship, man. The thing is, though, like, the thing that sucks, I was like, man, fucking Super's such a bitch. Fucking, like, she stole my money, gave me an STD. But then episode 27, I was like, but man, she gave me a wicked blowjob in the end. I think I'm going to go back.
Exactly. See, Zeon gets exactly what
I want another one of those.
Oh, I can
Let's see what else I can get, man. Like, she probably fucks like a beast. Never mind. Like, let's see what else she's got. But
I can tell you stories about that. So here's the last question for everybody, okay? I'm going to go back and I'm going to rewatch this arc probably one more time when I do a retrospective on the series and retrospective, for video purposes. And maybe when I watch it with somebody else, I might go back and rewatch the arc. Other than that, I'm never, ever, ever, ever rewatching this arc again for the rest of my life, with the exception of maybe the stuff that wasn't in the movie. Other than that, I'm never watching this arc again. It's literally the worst arc in Dragon Ball history. I think it's worse. I honestly believe it is worse than the search for the Black Star Dragon Balls in GT. That was boring, but it wasn't as bad as this. It's worse than Super 17's fucking fan service. It's worse than Garlic. Well, okay, maybe not worse than Garlic Jr. Okay, but
I'd say it's worse than Garlic Jr. I think the only thing that this isn't worse than is the fucking fake Namek arc.
That's not really an arc, but I see your point.
Yeah, like the fake Namek filler is like the only... hey, man, it's like, 4 episodes or some shit, and this was like, 12, 11? Yeah. Whatever, good enough.
This was 12. Or actually, if you take over the 4, like 9. Yeah, just really bad. So my question is, starting with Jay, will you ever watch this again?
I will watch it again.
Other than for your dub changes video.
When the Dragon Ball Z Blu-rays, Dragon Ball Super Blu-rays get released, I will be picking them up, whether they're in English or Japanese, doesn't bother me. I will be watching them again just to look at the quality, and it'll kind of be a guilty pleasure thing for me. There are many things that I do enjoy in Super, but there's just a lot of things that it does wrong. And I just when I think and go back through things like in the Beerus arc, just Vegeta using his Gallic gun on Beerus, or the beatdown that he gives Frieza, there's little redeeming factors there for me, being a fan of Vegeta. And although the story and the arc as a whole, the Resurrection of F arc was pretty shit. I probably will go back and watch it on Blu-ray when it comes out as a guilty pleasure. Yeah.
Quinn,
In terms of replay value, I mean,
I'd rather just watch the fucking movie. Like, I feel
Yeah.
like you could watch Battle of Gods Resurrection F and then start with episode 28 and not miss a fucking thing, honestly.
honestly, man, I'm pretty much on the sense that for both Battle of Gods and Resurrection F, I think the movies are significantly better, but there are some nice little things that they added to Super that I do enjoy, but for the most part, I'd pretty much just watch the movies. I mean, the things that they changed are so minuscule, and some things they could have done better, they didn't. And that's the only thing that angers me. It's like when you have a chance to make something better, it's not like Battle of Gods and Resurrection F were perfect films. I had my problems with both of those.
Definitely.
But like, you know, when you have a chance to fix something and make it better, do it. That's kind of my 2 cents on the matter.
Zeon, will you ever revisit this again, other than for the videos you're going to be doing? Like, for entertainment.
Man,
Come
entertainment.
on, you know when you buy the Dragon Ball Super Blu-rays, you'll watch it on Blu-ray.
I mean, okay,
I
thing
mean,
is,
I'll
though, it's-
skim through it, but it's still,
Okay, I'm gonna
ass, even if it looks better.
Thing is, I'm gonna say this. You know, I wouldn't call watching the Blu-rays entertainment. I'd call that morbid curiosity.
Yes.
Kind of like
yes.
kind of like, you know, when you look at crime scene photos, you're like, wow, that person's brains are like everywhere.
Or kind of like when you get with a new chick and she smells real bad, you just have to see why. Yeah.
No, Jesus Christ, what is wrong with you? Ugh.
Oh, sorry. Continue.
But yeah, it's just, yeah, I'm probably gonna check it out when it hits Blu-ray once, and I'm gonna put that on my shelf, and I am never going to look back.
I will watch Chris Ayres when he dubs this, because I do
Yeah,
want to see
like
how
that's what I'm saying. Like when the Blu-ray dub comes out, I'll check it out for that. That's about it.
That's about it. Yeah. Other than that, I just don't enjoy it. All right. Well, thanks everybody for checking out Talk Dragon Ball, and fuck the Resurrection F arc. Have a nice day.